Good morning. My name is Pastor Dirk, and I just want to take a moment to express my condolences and our prayers on behalf of Richard Thom as you gather together today for his memorial service. On Tuesday morning, my wife and I were traveling down to Chicago because we have a service to do this weekend, and we received the phone call from Leanne that her dad had passed away. It really did not register what had happened until after I hung up and I talked with my wife and we realized that Richard had passed away. You see, Richard was a good friend of ours. He was a friend of ours before I became his pastor. Because in the early years when the church first started, Richard and Linda were a part of those forming years as we met in the church in downtown Perham. Nearly 15 years ago, I became Richard's pastor and continue to be his friend. The one thing I knew as a pastor was if Richard was not there on a Sunday morning, it meant one of two things. One, it was deer hunting weekend, or two, he was with his family. He was with his children and his grandchildren. Richard talked often of his family as I would gather with him. I'd meet with him at the lumber yard or he'd be at the church. He loved his family very, very much and was very, very proud of each and every one of you. As a pastor, I couldn't be more proud of a member of our congregation. He served as an usher, as a head usher usually. He helped with everything from counting the offering to arriving early and parking down the street just to be sure that there was an extra spot for somebody visiting church that Sunday. And as a pastor, I know that was hard for him at times because he would come to the altar and ask for prayer because he struggled with gout and his feet were hurting, but yet he continued to make those sacrifices. In more recent years, Richard really got involved in Bible study, which I was thrilled to see him going deeper and deeper. Even before he got involved with the Bible studies and the Loop Bible study, he helped me as we reached out to veterans in the area and developed a PTSD Veterans Bible study. And as I saw Richard gather with some of his friends and they got to share some of the war stories together, I could see in Richard's heart a desire to help others who struggled with things that he struggled with sometimes. And I know, having served in the military, I got to hear some of his stories that he would share of his service there. And if you know Richard and spent any time with him, you got to hear those stories. And you got to hear them sometimes more than once. And one of the things that stands out to me about Richard and his service was when he would tell me about before he got drafted to go into the military. He was a sharpshooter. He could hit a bullseye every single time with a rifle. And he knew going in that if he did that they were going to make him a sniper, and he did not want to do that. And he shared how when it came time to qualify, he would intentionally miss the bullseye because he did not want to find himself being a sniper in the Vietnam War. Richard knew what his limitations were. As a member of Northwoods, on several occasions he was nominated to be a board member, and I would approach him and say, "Richard, you've been nominated to be a board member," and he'd get a smile on his face and he'd say, "Thank you, but no thank you." You see, he knew his limitations. He knew he wasn't perfect. He also knew what was involved in being a board member. And I respect and honor his choice every time he was nominated. I will miss Richard as a friend. I will miss him as a man that loved people, as a man that loved his family. He always would go above and beyond what was asked of him. As a pastor, I would often have a dream or a vision of something that needed to be built within the church, and I would tell Richard the idea I had, and he would come back and it would be all done, and it would always be done above and beyond what I ever dreamed that it should look like. Everything from the bookshelves in the office to the countertop as you walked into the church, all those things were Richard's designs and Richard's making. He will forever have his hand and his heart on the work of the church at Northwoods. Our prayers are with you. God bless you. Thank you for allowing me to share just for a few moments today as you gather. I will be there on Tuesday at the gravesite. Know that Bobby and I are praying for you. We love you, and we thank you for sharing Richard with us and with the family of Northwoods Assembly. God bless you.